Tietie for more on this. Good to have you on Newsnight. So many questions begging for answers there. I mean, we have Kasim to thank for that report. Now, very quickly, I mean, is this a story of spectacular institutional failure that we're dealing with here? Because how do you explain a non-existent, government agency that has access to opening accounts with the Central Bank of Nigeria and all the other, stories we're hearing about this? We're going to, talk about some of them. But is this, institutional failure at its best?
I think it's beyond institutional failure at the highest level of governance in our country. It is an expression of fundamental official negligence on a simultaneous scale, at a scale that has never been, seen in the history of this country, and then in the history of any country that Nigeria can indeed compare itself with. So it's a huge systemic disruption that indicates the threat that we are faced with, a sort of misgovernance, negligence at the highest level of governance, institutional failure. Because how do you explain all the principal institutions of government at the same time failing to recognize that such thing is happening, or it could be the highest form of conspiracy to create a fictitious institution for the purpose of budgetary allocation to ensure kickback? So this is not a criminal matter. Nobody should be arrested at this stage in this matter. Rather, the very interesting and ingenious fellow, the Prince Adeyemi fellow, should be given serious active witness protection, because a time must come in our country. We should stop this, this huge national joke we make of ourselves, and a number of us are tired. And if this government or those who run this government are not tired of this huge embarrassment, we are as citizens tired. Now, protect this man, because the proper thing has not even started. We're talking about the indictment of the National Assembly, the presidency, the office of the budget office, the office of the chief of staff, the office of the secretary to the government of the federation, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the office of the head of civil service of the federation. Now, it's not about one man, and I think that we must appreciate that he is the weaker party here, who should really be protected against these persons who, presumably want to make him a scapegoat, because there seems to be a cover-up. So we need to unravel what has actually happened.
So
this
you think
huge
that
systemic failure must be dealt with,
and there's likely to be insider involvement?
No, if you call it insider involvement, is an understatement, because of the grand scale arrangement. We're talking about a said non-existing agency of government that found its way to the Appropriation Act. How did that happen? So that monies will be paid. In fact, from deeper investigations coming from other reports, indicate, which I'm yet to verify, that the real trouble came when there was a certain dispute as to the allocated fund to the non-existent
percentage that's expected
non-existent agency.
Right. So how weak are the safeguards? You've mentioned the legislature and all of that. How weak are these safeguards? And more importantly, how do we begin to strengthen these levels of, these are levels of safeguards that, we really should have. How do we begin to strengthen them?
Ideally,
and are we to take it that this may have been going on even before?
Oh, yes, indeed. So it's a normal thing that may have been going on. But this time around, there is need for serious accountability. And this accountability should be demanded on behalf of the people by the National Assembly, even though the National Assembly in itself is culpable for this kind of strange negligence. One would have expected that what is happening to the appropriation committees of the House of Representatives and the Senate at this time? They should be enraged. Somebody should save us of this embarrassment. This is not a situation that can be cured by lame and
and telling Nigerians and telling the public
statements
to
from the
disregard.
presidency. The man issues a press statement, then Onanuga issues another press statement. This is not the matter.
Right.
We are witnessing the institutional destruction of our country before our very eyes. And what the presidency thinks it should do is to now find one form of solidarity around Femi Gbajabiamila. That's not what we need. This country doesn't belong to those who govern it. It belongs to all of us. So, and in that case, we must, and again, I get very disappointed when civil society keeps quiet. Imagine if this was a better a scandal. What will happen to the woman by now? And then, so why do we have this sort of, camaraderie among those in the presidency at this time?
You think?
Hold
on. Let me take you up on that. You think CSOs are cherry picking on which fight to fight?
Look, it's not about CSOs.
Is it not too early for that kind of indictment?
This is a huge intelligence failure at the national scale. Who is protecting the president? Look, look at Abdul Kari's report that was, which indicated and suggested an independent investigation. Did the president need to be told about that? Because if there was, and indeed, I hope there would be an independent report, and it seems as if the president tolerated this. Don't you know that it's an impeachable offense? The president can be impeached because of what has happened.
Is there a strong possibility that the president may not have known that this is going on around him?
Complicity, that it will be against the president if we didn't have a compromising National Assembly that does paddy in quote relationship with the executive, is to simply query the president. Because the embarrassment is too much. How did your intelligence, network fail that much? How did your public service arrangement fail to this extent? All of these men, chief of staff, SGF, CBN governor, all of them fail. At the same time. Right. Even your national security agencies fail, DSS, NSA fail at the same time, and then you want Nigerians to believe that one man should now be used as a scapegoat. He should be arrested and tried. These guys, who do they think that we are? Do you think we're dumbheads?
So how do we go about this now? Set up that independent body that...
I have faith in systems, and I believe no matter how we think the National Assembly may be useless to itself, it is still the saving grace in this matter. The National Assembly must invoke its powers under Section 88 of the Constitution and immediately issue witness protection get witness protection orders, not from the DSS but from a court, and ensure that their DME is protected. So it must be interrogated.
It's no longer just about ADME now. It's about the system. The system. Hold on, that allows this to happen in the first place.
We have to unearth how it has been happening. Femi Gbajabiamila does not have immunity. Right. Forget the solidarity that Onanuga's statement and the rest of them and the presidency they're making a mockery of themselves. What they should do, what the National Assembly should do, is to summon by Femi. Better is because if it's better, they will sack her. Because the one woman who does not have clout, not as powerful as Femi. But you see, it is beyond individuals. Because we haven't really established these things. But what has been established so far is the huge embarrassment, making a mockery of ourselves to the extent that a non-existing agency of government applies to the Foreign Affairs Ministry for note verbal. Do you know what it means? Do you know how the international community takes note verbal? To the extent. But I think the most important part is that it got, this man wangled its way to have this agency, the budget and monies were allocated. Now, let us not even go into the idea. Those idea that the man paid 400 million or whatever they're about to secure an appointment. This level of sleaze,
which is a practice that's said to have to be going on even before now.
If you know, because everybody across the world now is now protecting his own country, there's nationalism everywhere. Right. Nigerians know that. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, we will do everything possible to save this country. Because we think we want to destroy this country and go somewhere else. How else will a country go down low beyond this?
Frank, let me ask you, in the procurement process, is it even normal that you would want to ask or to try to verify if an agency actually exists to make approvals? Would that be a norm at all?
An agency does not exist without an instrument of law.
Right.
Either it's a proclamation of the president, so it becomes an extension of the presidency.
Right.
And then, so, but what actually in this case, without any statute that gives it credence, is the fact that it had a blind budget, because the Appropriation Act, the appropriation document is an act, it's a law in itself, that automatically confers some measure of
legitimacy, and yes.
So it also now makes a fool, and I say, I mean, in quotes, you understand, pardon my language, of those who now claim that in the presidency that it didn't exist, when they themselves are the ones that created it, endorsed it, and then applied for it to be given money. So you see, you can't sit in office and investigate yourself. You can't sit in office and be controlling the National Security Advisor, controlling the Inspector General of Police and all that, and then when you are the one who actually orchestrated the crime in question. But we're not saying that this
allegedly
is a crime.
It's in court now.
In question. But you see, we're not even looking at whether a crime existed or not. We're saying that how can an agency operate for that long with that level of paraphernalia in governance, and and then a government claims that it is
not aware of it.
I mean, so how do you not trust that kind of government, whether it's aware as to how it can provide security, whether it's aware whether it can provide healthcare, or whether it's aware it can provide the preservation of this country? This is utter failure, and I hate to criticize this government, but look, we have to tell it as it is.
Frank Tietie, so many questions really begging for answers, and we hope that we can actually get to the bottom of this development. Thank you so much, Frank Tietie, for joining us